Here is exactly how I wrote my software engineering resume to stand out from a sea of applicants. In case you want to get noticed at companies like Microsoft, Nvidia, Shopify, and other big tech companies, you want to watch this video. My name is Ricky. I'm someone who's gone through the technical hiring process multiple times before. And in this video, I want to teach you everything that I know about getting an interview and how you should position and write your resume so that you actually land that interview. And in case you've tried and you haven't seen any results, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 essential pieces of resume writing advice that I wish I had known way sooner so that recruiters would invite me to an interview. And by the end of this video, I'll show you the exact resume that I had that landed me an internship at Google back in 2021, as well as talk about some of the changes that I make today, 3 years later. And in case you're wondering who I am, again, my name is Ricky. It's hot in here. My AC is broken and I'm shirtless, but please, I'm going to try to go through this video in one straight shot, and hopefully you learn something from it in terms of the different 5 pieces that we have to talk about here today. So I want to first talk about formatting. Formatting on your resume is 90% of the game. And I don't mean colors and fancy flex boxes. Unless you're a designer, then I'd argue color and design is very essential for your resume. But a colorful resume that looks something like this is pretty distracting from what the actual content is. You can see that this is a very colorful yellow, red, green, blue resume. It feels very fun, very joyful, but this is a senior carpenter. And I would imagine a carpenter is a bit more rugged, a bit more professional, and you would probably want something along the lines of more serious, more stern writing, as opposed to colorful and almost childlike imagery. So I don't even bother reading this resume because it distracts away from the content of this person's background, of this person's experience and resume altogether. When I say formatting, what I really mean is white space. What I mean is bold text, as well as hyperlinks, as well as landmarks for your eyes to land on. So here is what I mean. If you look at this post right here, what do you read first? What do you read next? And after and last? You'll see that you'll read this first as it properly predicted, then this, and you'll read this last. The reason is that this is high contrast. It's black on white text. And then this is a slightly lower contrast, which it's white on brown, but it's also less heavy. It's a smaller text, even smaller, small list. So you'll see that your eyes will naturally follow a specific pattern, and following this in terms of your sections formatting and your headers and your body is very important. So I'll talk about the exact section structure that I use later on. But the point here is that the best resumes are skimmable. Recruiters will spend about 5 seconds before flipping to the next candidate. This is the truest piece of information that you could possibly see here. As someone who has had to scan through a pile of resumes before, when I first was revealed to the fact that I have 100 potential applicants and I have to choose the best 1 or 2 to at least talk to, wow, you have to make split-second decisions. So this is super key for you to realize. So my 2 pieces of advice when it comes to formatting is that things should be breathable, things should have the right contrast and size ratios, and it should be satisfying to look at from afar. And what you want to do is you want to just look at your resume from afar, maybe like an arm's width away. Don't even read the content, but just look at the structure. Does it follow a hierarchy? Does it follow pretty good design? And if you don't know, look at a bunch of templates until just something catches your eye and you don't really know why, but copy it. Do exactly that. When you want to create specific formatting rules, I think these are the most helpful things that you can look at. Tab stops in Google Doc or MS Word. You can use tables to categorize content, especially helpful for a diverse skills section. You can see I have a table on the left-hand side, and then there's a invisible vertical bar that separates the left and the right-hand side. You can see there's programming. I have Python, so-and-so. Then it's data science, so-and-so. And it ends in mathematics. And then, it goes in natural English order, and your eyes look, and there's room to breathe here, right? So it looks satisfying to the eye. Adjust it how you will. Another thing that you could do is you could use LaTeX for a resume that looks like a scientific paper, and it's version controllable. So if you really like Git or whatever other software you use, I think this is great. So you could try using LaTeX as well. It is a bit of a learning curve. It's a markup language, but if you know it already, go for it. My next point, a good resume is a good story. You are a character in a movie, so to speak. You are the main character. That's the energy that you want to present yourself with in your resume. And for a second here, just bear with me. Think of your favorite book or movie that you couldn't peel your eyes off of. Why was that? Was it because the character was relatable? Was it because they went on this incredible journey? Was it because it was a love story that you just absolutely loved? Whatever the case may be, it just took you on a journey that was easy to follow. And take this advice from the land of novels and try to bring a little bit to the land of resumes. You want the reader to take a thread and follow that thread and follow that thread and continue on forward until they finish the rest of the resume. So this is the structure that I like to use for my bullet points and my experience section. So let's say, for example, here, this was during a research project that I did back in my college. How I like to structure this first is I'll start with a 1-sentence high-level description of my project. Again, written at a high school level. So this lays out the stage in the recruiter's mind of what I worked on. I don't want to be too technical and too complex and write at collegiate level. I actually want to dumb it down a little bit so it's a bit more understandable right away. Instant understanding. You want it to be immediately understandable. So something here, back in 2021, there was lockdowns and whatnot. You can see exactly what I wrote here. I measured public emotion related to the outbreak using public data gathered from Twitter. Do you know what I did? Chances are you know exactly what I did. I measured public emotion. I didn't go into the details quite yet, but I will talk about that in the next few bullet points. I like to include up to 3. This is usually a good happy medium. 1, 2, or 3 is probably fine. And then you're going to leave room for a last one. So the body is what I like to call it, is 3 bullet points. I talk about the action of the thing I built, the result it brought, and the technologies that I used. And I'll give you a concrete example at the end here. I was able to implement a natural language processing pipeline to ingest tweets and store sentiment analysis results using Python. I implemented, was the action, a natural language processing pipeline, which was the thing that I built, to ingest tweets and store sentiment analysis results using Python, the results that it brought and the technology that I used to do it. It's pretty simple when you boil it down to this formula. And you can see that if you repeat this 2-3 times, you can have a very strong standing resume. Next thing here is I talk about the project result at the end. So what did I actually do? And what was the result that it brought to the team or to the project or to the company? So the structure that I like to use is I resulted in X percent or X number metric improvement using technology X. So excuse the brackets here. I'm going to delete these live. So I resulted in 2 million plus gathered tweets used in ML models that study public emotion. Again, follow the same structure that you see here. Moving on to the next point. I lead with technical experience. As you can see up here, what I did was I led with technical experience. And in the section of my resume, in the first section of my resume, I want to cover the most important technical projects that I've ever laid my hands on. I want to talk about the best projects that I can talk about. I don't want to talk about some hobby project that I abandoned one weekend. I want to really talk about like, okay, this is the most solid sound project that I've worked on, whether or not it was inspired by my own self or it was assigned to me for classwork or assigned to me for an internship or a buddy's business or whatever the case may be. It should cover the most important projects you've ever laid your hands on. Even if you're a freshman, you've had 2 semesters worth of classwork that you can pull from. You shouldn't include everything. You have to filter the signal from the noise. So imagine you are buying a bouquet of flowers for somebody that you love. It's Valentine's Day, imagine. And in front of you, the florist presents you 2 options. 1, a dozen roses where 11 are healthy, but 1 is wilting. And then the other option they present to you is a singular flower adorned with white baby's breath, a bow, perfume, and a handwritten letter. Which would you pick? Quality or quantity? This is a dozen roses. This is a singular flower. What are you going to pick? I hope it's obvious. Next up, I want to actually talk about how these descriptions should look like. You want to use action verbs at the start of each section. And I've linked here Harvard's action verbs. Let me make this bigger. Basically, Harvard Law School, you can Google this. You can find this for free. You can find a list of action verbs to assist you in describing your experiences and accomplishments. Now, these are some great words like I guided a team to launching their first product. I restored a legacy database that had fallen over after a critical loss of data. Just like these are examples I'm coming up off the top of my head. I coordinated an event for 100 plus engineers to talk about their technical experience over lunch over the course of a summer. Something like that. Like use this list of words here, and you should start every single sentence with these words. Going back here, you also want to use colorful adjectives. And I call them colorful adjectives because they're just very descriptive and they paint a picture in the recruiter's mind. And here I have another list. You can find this on Flowing Data. This is the wheel of emotional words in case you're having trouble finding the words these days. So you start here at the center to describe an emotion or to describe some sort of activity and get a little bit more descriptive, right? And this is good for any sort of articulation that you have in your day-to-day. Try to be more descriptive. Don't just say that I'm happy. Say that I'm interested. I'm proud. Don't just say that I'm angry. Just say that you're bitter. Say that you're indignant. Say that you've been ridiculed or something along these lines. Don't just say something is bad or say something is crazy and just be like bland or generic. You really want to be a bit more specific. You were rushed, overwhelmed. And there's tons of these like word wheels out there. Find one for you. I like this one this is one that I use in my day-to-day, and I've been using it for years. Oops. Here we go. We're back. There's a quote that I like from another tech YouTuber out there. Maybe you've seen him in the space. His name is Aman Manazir. And when he's talking about these powerful descriptions on your resume, you want to use the biggest numbers that you could possibly defend. Never lie on your resume. I'm not advocating for that. What I want you to do is this is his advice here. You'll be asked about claims that you write down on your resume. You want to make sure that these claims are validated. They're valid claims. And then you can talk about, I actually brought 100 million users to the App Store. And if they look at your app and they say, oh, it has only 50 downloads, then you're lying. But if you can say that you contributed to a automated review system that sent push notifications to clients after using the app for a week, and it resulted in an extra 5,000 global reviews, and then they go to the App Store and they see that you have 5,000 reviews, okay, you can back that up and you can literally show them the number on the phone. So something along those lines is what you should be going about, right? Use the biggest number, find what you can. And if you did something on a global scale, use the word global. If you did something on a continental scale, use the continents, Europe, Africa, Asia, the US, Latin America. Talk about these specific things and get an image into the recruiter's mind. And again, you have to make sure that you can back these up in an interview. Lastly, I want to talk about a little cheat code here that as a thank you for being here in the video for so long. Use AI to get feedback on your resume. There's tons of tools out there, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., that you can use to get feedback on your resume. Now, to be clear, you should not let AI write your resume. But if you want my AI generated prompts that can help you tailor your resume, ask you the right questions to find out, is there any flaws? Ask you about questions that you can almost have a conversation with a professional resume writer. Click the link in the description. I'll have that there so you can have a little back and forth with the AI to fine tune that resume for the specific role that you want. Let's say that you have a past experience in iOS development, but now you want to go into web development or you want to go into machine learning. Well, that requires some pivoting of your explanation. So let's put that all together and let's talk with the AI. Let's see, how can we reframe this? Use a different lens to explain this experience. What is relevant? What is not relevant? What overlaps? How can we translate that and bridge the gap? So again, if you want that, click the link in the description. And as I promised, I will show you the exact resume that I used that got me into Google. 1 second. And we're back. So this is the exact resume that I used to get into Google back in 2021. And as you can see here, there's a lot of like white space. Today, I would probably put a lot more white space, but I think that this is a pretty good, well-structured resume in terms of like, okay, there's clear headings, profile, education, key courses, skills. See, there's a lot of white space in this section here. There's room to breathe, technical projects. There's tons of explanation here, professional experience, tons more explanation down there. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this exact format today. There's a lot of professional experience and technical projects at the bottom, whereas a normal recruiter will read at the top left. What I would do today is I would probably start with the professional experience, then move on to the technical projects, and then move on to the skills section. Then I would talk about my education and the key coursework. And here is where I would probably let keyword matching do its thing, as well as in the skills section here. And if you don't know what I mean about keyword matching, is that every time that you put in your resume into an online application, there is an application tracking system called an ATS that will read your resume. It's a computer that will read your resume, and it will extract any sort of keywords that match the job listing that they're looking for. Again, if they're looking for a C or C++ developer, then if your resume includes C++, then boom, you're closer to the top of the pile. If it doesn't, you're probably getting auto rejected. So hitting all the keywords inside of these sections, I would just fluff it to the bottom. What I want a human to read is the actual experience first. And again, I'm going to talk about more the resume process that I have here, but feel free to pause this. Feel free to use some of this information here to your heart's content. This is exactly what I did. What I would talk about first is the background experience, the background and context of the experience that I'm listing here. So for example, when I was at NJIT, I was a part of the McNair research program. Let me make this bigger. Back when I was at NJIT, I was a part of the McNair research program, and I was an undergraduate research assistant. The first bullet, I automated data collection from Twitter's APIs with Bash and Python scripts to gather 200,000 tweets per day. I think I immediately know what this is. This is at a pretty easy to understand level. Then what did I actually do with this? I modeled 1 million tweets on a choropleth map. Even my research team didn't know what this is, but I would change this today. I used Python libraries, pandas, and Plotly. So this is the technology that I used, and this was the results that it got me and the exact number that it resulted in. What else did I do? I extrapolated location data from Twitter using Twitter user profiles using Google Geocoding API. This is the technology that I used, and this was the result that it brought. And you can see that I've actually bolded these texts, like these first few words, because the chances of a recruiter just, okay, I'm kind of bored and I want to just read the first few words of this, automated data collection, model 1 million tweets, extrapolated location data, privately hosted a web app. Okay, there's a little bit of a story vertically. Nobody talks about this, but there's a little bit of a story vertically going down, because reading the entire sentence left to right is not super likely. They'll probably just read the first few words and lose interest if it's not important, and they'll continue reading if it is. But chances are they're just going to read vertically. You can see I had background at Apple, working at the Apple Store, and at NJIT, working as a tutor during a summer academic enrichment program. Anyway, do with this what you will. I will see you in the next video.